Syrian media say a ceasefire deal has been reached between the government and the mainly Kurdish SDF, which reportedly includes merging the Kurdish and Syrian government forces and handing Damascus control of oil resources. It comes after the Syrian army took over the strategically important town of Tabqa in the northeast as part of its offensive against US-backed Kurdish forces. The footage shows Syrian government troops entering the town. They also captured major nearby dams and the oil and gas fields. Since the ousting of longtime President Bashar al-Assad, the Syrian government has been trying to integrate the Kurdish-controlled territory and its people into Syria. And for more, let's go to journalist Berivan Resol, who is based in northern Syria near the Turkish border. So very good to have you with us. So are we witnessing the disappearance of Kurdish autonomy in Syria?
Thank you for having me, Monica. Actually, I'm standing now in the main street in the city center of Qamishli. And even the self-administration here announced the full curfew in the region. But also we can see the movement, and you can see the transportation, and a lot of cars are moving around. Maybe that's because of that Qamishli received a good number of displaced people. As for your question, if the self-administration has been disappeared or not, I can say that what we are seeing that there is a fundamental shift in the form of Kurdish self-administration rather than its immediate disappearance. The model that existed over the past year is clearly being weakened, and what we will replace it remains unclear and uncertain till now.
Now, what does the deal to hand over oil and gas fields to the Syrian government mean for the communities that had been living under Kurdish rule?
Can you just repeat the question, please?
Of course. We were talking about the deal, that there's a deal to hand over oil and gas fields to the Syrian government. What does that deal mean for the communities that had been living under Kurdish rule?
Actually, reactions are deeply divided. As for Kurdish people, even if it was not being using in imperfect way, but it was good for the basic services in the region. And actually, because of the long history of what we suffer from the previous regime, Kurdish people they are skeptical about the revenue of these oils, if that will be distributed fairly or not.
And how do the Kurdish civilians react to the requirement that Kurdish-led forces be integrated into the Syrian army? Does that feel like protection to them, pressure, or something else?
Actually, reactions are mixed. Some people see integration as a way of as a good way to avoid fighting and keep civilians safe. Others feel it's like a force, and it's fear it will take away the Kurdish last means of self-protection, especially given the long history of discrimination and the lack of trust in the Syrian army. So the reactions are deeply divided here.
Just very, very briefly, perhaps, Kurdish commanders had been looking to the United States for help. Do they feel abandoned? Very brief answer, please.
Yes, actually, not only the Kurdish leader and also the Kurdish people feel that they are disappointed. They are feeling disappointment, and also they feel like the Washington betrayed them. They didn't stand with the Kurdish people. Even they fighted ISIS for a long time.
Right. Journalist Berivan Resol talking to us from Syria, the north of Syria. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Wladimir van Wilgenburg is a freelance journalist based in Erbil in Iraq, joining us now. Wladimir, how significant is the Syrian army's capture of the oil fields and the resources that were run by Kurdish-led forces?
Well, this is like a huge advance for the Syrian army. They took control of the biggest oil fields and gas fields in northeast Syria that were under control of the Kurdish-led forces since they took these areas from ISIS. And the Syrian Minister of Energy have said they're now going to develop these oil fields for the benefit of Syria. So it's a big advance for Damascus, yeah.
The Kurdish-led administration is calling on residents, especially young people, to take up arms, Wladimir. Are communities responding to this call, do you know?
Well, I mean, they are afraid that now that Damascus has took most of the majority Arab areas, that they will also advance and attack the Kurdish-controlled areas. So that's why they have been mobilizing basically civilians. And we saw that also during the Battle of Kobani with ISIS, that Kurds basically mobilized to defend themselves. But of course, a large part of the civilian population, they left.
The new government has been trying to integrate the Kurdish-controlled areas previously to become part of the new Syria. Do we take it from this move that the time for talking, the time for dialogue has now completely run out?
Actually not, because the Kurdish media reports that the agreement has been reached between Mazloum Abdi, the leader of the SDF, and the Syrian government. And the Syrian Minister of Information also announced that after 6 there will be an announcement of an agreement. So they have been talking since the fall of the Assad regime to find a solution. So maybe these developments have pushed both sides basically to a solution.
Does this remain, Wladimir, the biggest test for Syria's new government, this region, this potential solution?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to integrate all these areas, and they have been autonomous for a very long time. And also, in general, the Kurdish political parties, they demand some form of decentralization. So we see if this agreement also will apply to those demands, because so far the government decree only talks about cultural and linguistical rights, but the Kurds also, they want political rights. So we have to see also how they will be integrated into the new government, and also we have to see how they will do that with the military units, because for instance you also have female fighters and they might be, for instance, difficult to integrate into this more Islamist system of the new government.
The final part of the story, Kurdish commanders say they want stronger US involvement and guarantees of protection. How are people interpreting Washington's stance on this very fast-moving situation?
Well, in general, there has been a lot of disappointment among the Kurds over the US role in Syria. They feel that they now support Damascus, although they have suffered and they have sacrificed all those people in the fight against ISIS. And the US envoy actually was yesterday in Erbil to discuss this also with the Iraqi Kurdish leader to find a solution. I'm here in Erbil. But we have to see how it will go. But in general, there's a sign of disappointment among the Kurds about the role of the US in all this in this issue, especially that they feel abandoned by the US, although they have made so many sacrifices in the fight against ISIS.
Great to talk, Wladimir. Wladimir van Wilgenburg, a freelance journalist based in Erbil. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.